1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Hi, I'm Tom Donahue, your host tonight for live election night coverage here on PEG TV. I want to thank you for tuning in tonight. This is a big cycle, particularly for the city of Rutland, where it's a mayoral year, which often brings a larger turnout of people to the polls. It was a pretty decent day today, weather-wise, a little cold. The wind chill started picking up later in the evening, but no snowstorms and other weather conditions that would keep us away. And of course, people who are concerned about that did vote early. So we appreciate all of those who went to the polls today around the county and around the state, but especially here in Rutland County, we want to report to you the results as they come rolling in. We've got our teams out in the field right now, or getting those results from the polls. It is now officially concluded. The polls are closed. The numbers will be tallied soon. And in the city, of course, with the electronic tabulation, it makes it quicker. And we'll find out if we have, in fact, a new mayor this evening or not, as well as the change of the guard a bit on the Board of Aldermen and the school board. So as an example, in Rutland City, we had 9 candidates running for 6 seats in one section, which is the 2-year terms, 9 candidates running for 6 seats. And then on the 1-year terms, you had 2 openings and 2 candidates, that being Larry Coopely and Cheryl Hooker. So they're, of course, kind of de facto elected unless somebody mounted a miraculous write-in campaign. But we'll be reporting on that too, because you'll see at least 3 new aldermen tonight, and depending on what happens with the incumbents as well. So you have. Let me go through the list, and then I want to mention on the school board side, you've got 5 running for 4 seats, and 2 of those are incumbents. So you're going to have there at least 2 new school board members. On both of those, in the case of the mayoral race, Mike Dungas was president of the Board of Aldermen, is currently president of the Board of Aldermen. So you'll have at least a new president of the Board of Aldermen as well. And in addition, a new president of the school board, as the chair of the school board did not run for re-election, Allison Knott. So you're going to have potentially a new mayor, but Dave Allaire could be re-elected, but there is that possibility, as well as a new president of the Board of Aldermen and a new chair of the school board. So a lot of change potentially in the works this evening. But having said that, let me go down through the list of aldermen first. And I wanted to take a moment to talk about the first candidate on the ballot, in that it's in alphabetical order, and that's Alex Adams. Some people know and some people don't that Alex is in and has been in since Thursday ICU in Burlington at the UVM Medical Center. Reports today are that he may be moving out of the ICU into the cardiology unit, but what happened to Alex last Thursday was he was not feeling good for a few days and decided after he had some shortness of breath and some pains in his chest and his back to go to the Rutland Regional Medical Center. At that point, the medical center determined that they should transport him immediately to the UVM Medical Center. And at that time, when he was there, thank goodness that he was there, he actually had a cardiac arrest and actually ended up having 3 cardiac arrests, as it is reported. So it is a significant thing that he has been going through since Thursday, and his family and his friends. So we want to say to the family and friends of Alex Adams, I know his dad Grant quite well, and a lot of people know his sister, and it's a local family, a good family, and and Alex really would like to be and wish to be on the Board of Aldermen. He was here in the studio just on February 15th when we had the aldermanic debate, and the good news, I think, though, is that each day it seems that he is making some incremental progress. And today seemed to be, from what you heard, a little bit of more good news towards a potential for his path forward in his recovery. So we want the family and the friends of Alex Adams to know that our hearts and our prayers are with you all. It's a very difficult thing for him and the family to have to go through. We certainly respect the fact that he, as a young man in this community, was willing to put his name on the ballot and wants to become a Rutland City Alderman, and that's to be really respected. And it's very unfortunate what he's going through, but we're being positive and optimistic for his recovery. And as I said, our hearts and our prayers are are with Alex and his entire family and all his great friends around this community. Having said that, we'll kind of go on to the other individuals on the ballot tonight. Longtime individual in Rutland, Joe Barbagallo, running sort of for re-election because he was appointed and he's up for his seat. John Chaffee Jr., Thomas DePoy, who a lot of people know and is one of those incumbents that could be potentially re-elected tonight. William Billy Gillum, another incumbent. And then some newcomers like John McCann, Kiana McClure, Sherry Prouty, and then incumbents, Carrie Savage. So out of that group, you have, in that grouping, 9 people running for 6 seats, 4 of which are incumbents. And if the incumbents were elected, you'd have potentially a few new aldermen anyway, but also Larry Coopely and Cheryl Hooker both, because of course Larry was recently appointed and would be reelected to that seat, and Cheryl Hooker would be sort of one of the, so to speak, one of the newcomers, although she is well known to this area in politics and in the community. So that's a fairly significant thing for tonight, to see the new faces that might be on the board tonight, and maybe returning some of the existing folks as incumbents. And then additionally, some changes over at the school board. So as I said, there are 4 seats open. You have 5 people running for those 4 seats, and 2 of those are incumbents. So they may retain their seats. And if they did, then that would be at least 2 new school board members with the potential of 4. And that includes Ryan Carney, Kevin Kafaber, who's one of the incumbents, Mary McDonald, and Kathy Solsa. And Kathy is also an incumbent. And so, and I think clerk of the board as well. And so we'll see what happens there tonight. Additionally, of course, in addition to the main event, which is the mayor's race between Mike Dunges and Dave Allaire being the incumbent, obviously, and Mike Dunges being the challenger, we also have quite a few budget articles tonight in the city. There was, of course, 2 big ones that everyone's tuning into involving both the school budget, which will be passed up or down tonight, and of course the city municipal budget, which will be passed up or down tonight. That's Article 1 and Article 2 under what they call budget articles. And then it goes on to charter articles, and that first one is about that local option tax, so taking us from a 6% retail tax to a 7% retail tax, adding 1% on. Similar to our surrounding town of Rutland as one example, that already has that 7% tax in place. And then there's what they call a charter-related Article 1, which is creating a capital improvement reserve fund. And then it goes on to some bond articles, and we have several of those, one of which is about some repairs to culverts and sidewalks and so forth. That's Article 1. The second one is, and I'm just reading straight from the ballot itself, relating to water lines. And the third one, Article 3, is relating to combination and Piedmont Pond improvement projects. So some fairly significant bond articles tonight. Especially the little more unusual one typically is that local option tax. And then on the social service articles, there are altogether 14. And so we'll be reporting on all those tonight as soon as our team from the field arrives with some of those results. And they're usually in first because they're tabulated electronically, so it's a little quicker in Rutland City. Before we get too far afield, I want to actually jump in real quick because it's early enough to say thank you to the great team here at PEG TV, and led by, of course, the executive director, Tom Leopold. And Tom has been here a long time and doing a tremendous job, and so he's every foot needs a big toe, and Tom Leopold is PEG TV's big toe. But Tom Leopold, of course, so thank you for tonight. Nancy Donahue, Chelsea Tice, Sarah Nadler, Rich Elnicki, Jim Boughton, William Chmielewski, Greg McCormick, Stephen Wilson, and Chris Donahue. A number of those are in the studio now working behind the scenes, and a number of them actually out in the field right now as we speak. So a tremendous team here at PEG TV to bring you live election night coverage. And in addition, I really think that Rutland's got an asset here in community access television. We're very proud to be having this level of community access in a community the size of Rutland, and especially since they've grown, as you are maybe watching tonight, to broadcast this on cable television, but simulcast, if you will, on social media and the web as well. It's come a long ways, and it's tremendous to be able to get this kind of community programming out to you in such a quick fashion and such a professional manner by this great team here at PEG TV. So we want to thank that group for all their hard work and bringing this production to us tonight. And then the other thing I wanted to mention briefly as well regarding the ballots around the county, and they've done a great job of preparing me tonight with this document, which is all of the various ballots from all of the towns in Rutland County. And then looking through them, one of the things that struck me regarding the races and select board and listers and things like that, in many, many cases, there aren't competitions for those seats. So where there might be one seat open or two seats open, you have one candidate or two candidates. And in some, there's actually a seat open and no candidates, and then it says write-in, and so forth. So I wanted to raise that tonight as an issue because, it's concerning that not more people are coming forth to run for elected office right now. And it's a bit of a sign of the times because a lot of the elected officials have been taking a lot of heat for various things within their town and within their state and so forth. And I fear that, that's keeping a lot of more people on the couch and not really willing to put their name forward to serve because of that, flack, if you want to call it, that they may or may not get as an elected official. And it appears, to have an impact when you look at the number of names on the town ballots and the lack of names on the town ballots throughout the county. And hopefully, people will, that attitude will change and that people will be, again, anxious to serve their community in this capacity as an elected official. In Rutland, of course, it was always an incredible honor to be an elected official here and to put your name forth and to win was a pretty big deal back in the day. So let's hope we can get back to where it's a big deal again. Now, speaking of big deals, certainly we had some debates, and that's another great thing. I should plug PEG TV on because they did not only the aldermanic debate, which I was honored to moderate, but additionally a mayoral debate and a school board debate. And those are all, broadcast not only live here on PEG TV, but then rebroadcast, so people had a chance to actually watch them more than once for that matter, and then, get a good idea of the candidates that are offering their services as to the community. And you can make your decisions before you get to the voting booth and just color in that dot. So I want to talk about the mayoral contest a little bit, and it was kind of interesting, because Dave Allaire served 3 terms and he is the incumbent and has been around Rutland a lot longer just by virtue of age alone than Mike Dunges. Between the two candidates, what struck me was there wasn't a huge difference in opinions across the board, like where they were on complete polar opposites. Both of them had a certain vision that they were trying to communicate to the public, and they had knowledge about issues that they were talking about that were affecting Rutland right now, and Rutland voters and Rutland taxpayers, and just families in general, and how they see Rutland in the future, and what needs to be accomplished immediately, and what needs to be accomplished down the road. And to me, I didn't notice any really striking differences, any real opposite opinions. They both had some different views, definitely, in general, but nothing that was really that, extreme. So I found that interesting between the two candidates, and it's always interesting when you have just two candidates for the office, because people literally going to be choosing between one and the other versus having 3 or 4 or more candidates where, you're really sort of deciding between nuances of a couple versus, picking one or the other. In this case tonight, with both David Allaire and Mike Dunges running head-to-head. So it is a 2-year term, so you have to do this every couple of years. And the same way with the Board of Aldermen, with the exception of those 2 remaining seats that are carrying over because of appointments, which is Larry Coopely and Cheryl Hooker running for those 1-year seats, which will sync up next year as 2-year seats. Every year, the Board of Aldermen switches where you have 11 total, and you have 5 run 1 year and 6 run the next. So it's always that cycle. And as far as turnout goes, and I hadn't heard how the turnout is yet today, I was there very early this morning. It was 7:06 when I voted, and it was 16 people through. But I think it was pretty brisk during the day, because I think people saw the opportunity with the weather the way it was to get out then. But the mayoral races always turn out a significantly larger turnout than what we call off year, when it's just alderman and not an alderman and mayoral race together. So we'll see what those numbers are today. That'll be another interesting thing. Also, some people that were not running or running unopposed tonight. The city treasurer, Mary Markowski, unopposed tonight. So there is a write-in candidate, but I think it's safe to say congratulations to Mary Markowski. Now that polls are closed, that I'm willing to bet. I'm not a betting man, but if I were, I'd say Mary was reelected this evening. Additionally, the city assessor, Katie Burke Langlois, is running unopposed for city assessor. And again, barring a miraculous write-in campaign, I think it's safe to congratulate Katie Burke Langlois on her reelection as city assessor. So, but those are 2 important seats in the city, and both unopposed, which may mean people weren't that interested, or it may mean that Mary and Katie were just doing such a great job that no one saw any need to challenge them, which is probably more the truth than the latter. And then the social service articles include, of course, Brock Community Action, which is near and dear to me. And then the ARC Rutland is the second one. The third one is the Vermont Center for Independent Living. Fourth one is Visiting Nurse Association and Hospice, which we're all very familiar with. And then the fifth one, I should say, is a combination of them, which included one-to-one, I should say, program, RSVP, the Retired Senior Volunteer Program, and Southwestern Vermont Council on Aging, all sort of under one article with one total amount broken up into 3 amounts of dollars that equal the one total for those 3 programs. And then Article 6, Marble Valley Regional Transit District, otherwise affectionately known around here as the bus. We're still a small enough community where we can call our transit the bus, and everybody knows which bus we're talking about. And Article 7, Rutland Mental Health Services. Article 8 is New Story Center, which people formerly know as the Rutland County Women's Network and Shelter, but that's New Story. And then the Article 9 is Rutland County Free Clinic. Article 10, Vermont Adult Learning. Article 11 is the Boys and Girls Club of Rutland County. And Article 12, Rutland, the Regional Ambulance Service. People are certainly familiar with that one. Article 13 is the Mentor Connector. And last but not least, Article 14 is Wonder Feet Kids Museum, which has been moving and on the move from around the corner from Center Street to Merchants Row in downtown Rutland. So that's the city ballot in total tonight, and we should have results rolling in on that any time now, and we'll give you them ward by ward, 4 city wards, of course, and some a little bigger than others. I think now the Crisis King ward is actually bigger than the Ward 1, which was Godnick Center was always traditionally the largest ward. And then you have the southwest and the northwest sections of the city and those polling places. So as soon as we have any one of those, we'll be reporting to you and cutting right to the chase so you can see at least where that first one indicates the races are going. I'm going to go to, for a moment, to, I think this is the, well, actually, this is the Castleton town ballot, because they actually had a race for select board. So this is one of the ones that actually have a race. And they have Yvonne DeLance, Mary Lee Harris, and Jim Leamy. And they're 3 candidates for just 2 seats for a 1-year term for select board in Castleton. So Yvonne DeLance, Mary Lee Harris, and Jim Leamy. Aside from that, you had one person running for one. That was Richard Dick Combs, the town moderator and library trustee and so forth, all constable, all just one names. But again, there, you know, you're going to have the same things with the city, where you're going to actually be looking at the towns voting on their budgets, as well as other town appropriations. And I wanted to just look up the town of Rutland for a second. Oh, and let me jump here for a second over to Killington, because I did want to mention in Killington, again, no particular races for the seats. One name for one seat all throughout: moderator, town clerk, lister, select board. But they actually are looking at a vote on, let's see, I'm going to look for the number on it here. It's of course the budgets, but this one is actually regarding the tax increment financing district, the creation of a tax increment financing district in the town of Killington. So that will be a big one to report on tonight if we happen to get the results on that, because more and more communities, including Rutland, have been looking at tax increment financing as a development tool to attract particularly business or investment in particular areas of your community. Oftentimes blighted areas that you're looking to enhance and attract more development to improve that area of your community. They are pretty well known and utilized in all 50 states around the country. But this is more of the first time that you're starting to hear these conversations very locally in Rutland, Killington, and so forth. And the whole idea of a tax increment finance program is just what it says, the increment of the taxes. So once it's passed and once it's established, that is the baseline of where the taxes are. And as tax revenues, real estate values, and so forth increase above that baseline that's established at the beginning of the tax increment financing, that increment then goes and is reinvested back into that district specifically. And it can be invested in that district for things such as infrastructure and improvements and so forth. So that's where the incremental financing comes into play. And once that's designated, that's how that works. Everything from that day forward is that incrementally increases is reinvested back in that district, which is identified as a TIF, or a tax increment finance district. So there's the tax increment financing 101. I'm excited to say that we have results right off the bat, and I'm pretty impressed with the team here at PEG TV. So in Calvary Church polling place, starting out with the mayor, David Allaire, will go in alphabetical order, got 365 votes. Dave Allaire, 365 votes. Mike Dunges, 450. Mike Dunges, 450. So that is the Calvary Church voting location. Again, for mayor at that location, David Allaire, 365 votes. Mike Dunges, 450 votes. Then, of course, the next two were uncontested. Mary Markowski, 701. Katie Burke, and that's city treasurer, by the way. City assessor Katie Burke Langlois, 671. Now, I want to, before I get into the aldermen, just say out loud again that, as we do in the past, these are unofficial results. To the best of our knowledge, they're accurate, but we do want to be perfectly clear these are unofficial. For aldermen, again, alphabetical order, Alex Adams, 412 votes. Alex Adams, 412 votes. Joe Barbagallo, 491 votes. Joe Barbagallo, 491 votes. John Chaffee Jr., 300 votes. Thomas DePoy, 349 votes. William Billy Gillum, 402 votes. John McCann, 354 votes. Kiana McClure, 373 votes. Sherry Prouty, 327 votes. And Carrie Savage, 396. So again, Alex Adams, 412, Joe Barbagallo, 491, John Chaffee Jr., 300, Thomas DePoy, 349, William Billy Gillum, 402, John McCann, 354. John McCann, 354. Kiana McClure, 373. Sherry Prouty, 327. Carrie Savage, 396. Before I get on to any more, we have the American Legion. So I want to go right to the mayoral race. The American Legion, Dave Allaire, the incumbent mayor, 228 votes. Dave Allaire, 228 votes. Mike Dunges, 302 votes. Mike Dunges, 302 votes. That is in the American Legion. Dave Allaire, again, 228 votes. Mike Dunges, 302 votes. So that is in sort of a section of the city, if you will, on the northwest and and southwest of the city, more in that district. So the next two that would be coming in would be Christ the King and Ward 1, which is the Godnick Center. So we'll see if that changes and flips that at all. But right now, with two wards in, Calvary Church and American Legion, Mike Dunges is leading incumbent Mayor David Allaire in those two polls across the board. I won't go into the treasurer and assessor since those are uncontested. Let's get right to the Board of Aldermen's races, starting in alphabetical order. Again, Alex Adams with 266 votes. Joe Barbagallo with 318 votes. John Chaffee Jr., 212 votes. Thomas DePoy, 232 votes. William Billy Gillum, 239 votes. John McCann, 241 votes. Kiana McClure, 255 votes. Sherry Prouty, 189 votes. And Carrie Savage, 244 votes. Again, Alex Adams, 266. Joe Barbagallo, 318. John Chaffee Jr., 212. Thomas DePoy, 232. William Billy Gillum, 239. John McCann, 241. Kiana McClure, 255. Sherry Prouty, 189. Carrie Savage, 244. Again, getting back to the mayor's race in American Legion, Dave Allaire, 228. Mike Dunges, 302. We now have the Godnick Center. So this is on the other side of Main Street, if you will, the second largest ward in the city. And the results are in. These are, again, are unofficial results, but if these three hold, you have a new mayor. David Allaire, 277 votes. David Allaire, 277 votes. Mike Dunges, 397 votes. Mike Dunges, 397 votes. Now, not to say that can't be turned by some significant margin in Christ the King. It's the largest ward in the city. So we don't want to presume anything yet, but here's the trend. Starting with Calvary Bible Church, David Allaire, 365 votes with Mike Dunges, 450. In American Legion, David Allaire, 228 votes, Mike Dunges, 302. And in Godnick Center, the second largest ward in the city, Ward 1, what I call Ward 1, I think they have new numbers with the redistricting, but let's go with that for now. David Allaire, 277 votes. Mike Dunges, 397 votes. That's a significant margin in ward, in that Godnick Center ward, where actually Mike Dunges resides. Let's go to the Board of Aldermen now. Alex Adams with 349 votes. This is again Godnick Center. Joe Barbagallo with 419 votes. John Chaffee Jr. with 224 votes. Thomas DuPois with 258 votes. William Billy Gillum with 307 votes. John McCann with 336 votes. And in case you don't think your vote counts, Kiana McClure with also 336 votes. Sherry Prouty with 256 votes, and Carrie Savage with 356 votes. So again, the Board of Aldermen, Alex Adams, 349 votes, Joe Barbagallo, 419 votes, John Chaffee Jr. with 224 votes, Thomas DuPois with 258 votes, William Billy Gillum with 307 votes, John McCann with 336 votes, Kiana McClure, also 336 votes, Sherry Prouty with 256 votes, and Carrie Savage with 356 votes. That's the Godnick Center. So you now have 3 wards in, and those totals. And right now, Mike Dunges, the current president of the Rutland City Board of Aldermen, leads David Allaire, the incumbent mayor, 3-term mayor, by a fairly significant margin, barring any significant change coming in from the Christ the King ward, the city's largest ward yet to report in here at PEG TV. So let's go to some of the articles. Just for those keeping score, our friend Larry Coopely and our good friend Cheryl Hooker, 510 votes for Larry Coopely and 523 votes for Cheryl Hooker for that 1-year term, running virtually unopposed outside of a miraculous write-in campaign. That was by Calvary Church. Let's go over to American Legion for Larry Coopely, 339 votes, and Cheryl Hooker, 355. And on the Godnick Center, Larry Coopely, 417 votes, Cheryl Hooker, 480 votes. We now have the last ward coming in. This is the Christ the King, we believe the largest ward in the city. And again, these are unofficial tallies, but with this final vote in, and if these totals hold up to be correct, we have a new mayor, Mike Dunges. David Allaire with 447 votes, Mike Dunges with 561 votes, a significant margin. So congratulations to Mike Dunges on his election. To the mayor of the city of Rutland. The incumbent mayor, David Allaire, appears to have lost a re-election into his fourth, well, we hope to be his 4th term here as mayor, and newcomer to this level of politics, current president of the Board of Aldermen, Mike Dunges, does appear to be the new mayor-elect of the city of Rutland, Mike Dunges. And the alderman for 2-year term, let's go right down through the names in alphabetical order. 446 votes for Alex Adams. Joe Barbagallo with 612. This is again the Christ the King ward. John Chaffee Jr. with 413 votes. Thomas DuPois with 466 votes. Billy Gillum with 482 votes, John McCann with 408 votes, Kiana McClure with 435 votes, Sherry Prouty with 367 votes, and Carrie Savage with 490 votes. We'll do that again real quick. Alex Adams with 446, Joe Barbagallo 612, John Chaffee Jr. 413, Thomas DePoy with 466, Billy Gillum with 482, John McCann with 408, Kiana McClure with 435, Sherry Prouty with 367, and Carrie Savage with 490. Again, just to wrap that group up, Larry Coopely, alderman running for one-year term, 715, and Cheryl Hooker with 672. So that is your Board of Aldermen and your results there, and your mayoral results at this point, with these officials totals being unofficial, but it would indicate that Mike Dunges is the new mayor-elect of the city of Rutland. And additionally, we have, let's see, they have, the great crack team here at PEG TV has pulled together some final totals. It looks to be that, again, unofficially, that Mike Dunges has received 57% of the vote tonight, to Mayor David Allaire's 43%, and has taken the election by a significant margin, 1,710 votes for Mike Dunges to 1,267 votes for Dave Allaire. And it looks like voter turnout was about 25% tonight, 2,977 total votes cast is what we have recorded here, 2,977 votes, which is a little light. Typically the mayoral years are in the threes, but nevertheless about a 25% turnout of registered voters, which is a total of 11,821. So about 2,977 people have decided this race and decided to elect a new mayor to the city of Rutland. And that is that one. We'll wait to see what the totals are on the aldermanic races. And in the meantime, we do have some quick results we'll broadcast from Mendon, and then we'll go back to the other ballot items here for the city, including budgets and so forth. Moderator for unopposed for a 3-year term in Mendon, Christopher Corsones with 112 votes. Select Board, Seth Bridges with 111 votes, running unopposed, and Lisa A. Brooks, also running for a 2-year term. The other was a 3-year term. Lisa A. Brooks, 107 votes for a Select Board. So Lisa Brooks and Seth Bridge will both be on the Select Board, and Christopher Corsones, I believe, will continue as the moderator for a 3-year term in the town of Mendon. Now let's get to some of the budget articles, and I'm just going to compare with mine, and I think the first one is, Article 1 is the school, and the second one, Article 2, is the city municipal budget. And so let's start with the biggest ward first, Christ the King. The school budget passes there, 577 to 417 no. 577 yes, 417 no in Christ the King ward on Article 1, which is the school budget. Article 2, the municipal budget, 695 yes, and only 272 no. So there's a significant Christ the King. I'm going to go in order from the biggest down so that you can determine the winners here, but clearly the school budget, it has passed in the next largest ward, 446 yes to 215 no. That's 446 yes to 215 no. Article 1, the budget article for the school budget. And the municipal budget, Article 2, 512 yes to 137 no. 512 yes to 137 no. We'll just keep going right across with those budgets. And again, the school budget passing with a large margin in American Legion, 331 for the school budget, yes, and only 199 no for Article 1, the school budget in American Legion Ward, Article 2, the municipal budget, 389 yes, 124 no. So with those in, the school budget has passed, the municipal budget has passed. We will give you Calvary Church because that matters. Again, school budget passing, 496 votes to 318 votes no. The school budget in Rutland City is officially, or unofficially, I guess I should say, passed by a fairly significant margin, and the municipal budget is also passed. In Article 2, yes, 587, no, 208. Article 2, this municipal budget for the city of Rutland, also unofficially passes by a very large margin. So we'll get to the charter articles, and I'm going to refer to my scorecard here again. Okay, so the charter articles, the first one being the local option tax. So that's the next most interesting, I think. Charter Article 1, 452 yes to the local option tax and 340 no. And that is Calvary Church, Christ the King, Charter Article 1, this is the local option tax again, 568 yes to 410 no. Godnick Center, 422 yes, 230 no. And American Legion, 287 yes, 236 no. So the local option tax unofficially has also passed. Now let's get to, as I don't want to leave out the school commissioners. We talked about the school budget passing. Let's talk about the school commissioners. This one is Godnick Center. Ryan Carney, 334 votes. Heather Hawk, 295 votes. Kevin Kafaber, 319 votes. Mary McDonald, 259 votes. And Kathy Solsa, 362 votes. So again, this is Godnick Center, large ward. Ryan Carney, 334 votes. Heather Hawk, 295 votes. Kevin Kafaber, 319 votes. Mary McDonald, 259 votes. And Kathy Solsa, 364 votes. Let's go to the next other large ward, which is Christ the King. Ryan Carney, 461 votes. Heather Hawk, 498 votes. Kevin Kafaber, 446 votes. Mary McDonald, 421 votes. And Kathy Solsa, 474 votes. That is the Christ the King ward and school commissioner 3-year terms. Again, Ryan Carney, 461, Heather Hawk, 498, Kevin Kafaber, 446, Mary McDonald, 421, and Kathy Solsa, 474. Going over to American Legion for the school board, Ryan Carney, 253 votes, Heather Hawk, 219 votes, Kevin Kafaber, 235 votes, Mary McDonald, 220 votes, and Kathy Solsa, 243 votes. One more time for American Legion, school commissioners, Ryan Carney, 253, Heather Hawk, 219, Kevin Kafaber, 235, Mary McDonald, 220, and Kathy Solsa, 243. And one more to go, that is the Calvary Church. And school commissioners, Ryan Carney, 398 votes in that district. Heather Hawk, 350. Kevin Kafaber, 345. Mary McDonald, 294. And Kathy Solsa, 397. So this is Calvary Church. Again, Ryan Carney, 398. Heather Hawk, 350. Kevin Kafaber, 345. Mary McDonald, 294, and Kathy Solsa, 397 votes. And that is Calvary Church. So there are the totals for the school boards as well. Now we have a tally now for the Board of Aldermen. Our great crack team out here. In the other room is at PEG TV. And that has Joe Barbagallo as the top vote getter with 1,840 votes. Joe Barbagallo. Following Joe, another incumbent, Carrie Savage, 1,486 votes. Carrie Savage, 1,486 votes. Followed by Alex Adams with 1,473 votes. Alex Adams, 1,473 votes. William Billy Gillum, 1,430 votes. 1,430 votes for William Billy Gillum. Next, followed by newcomer Kiana McClure with 1,399 votes. Kiana McClure, 1,399 votes. And the last available seat on the alderman two-year term, you're voting for 6. The last seat goes to John McCann, 1,339 votes. John McCann, 1,339 votes. So in 7th, 8th, and 9th, and again, I just say these are unofficial totals at this point here at PEG TV, because the city clerk can only be making these the official totals in the state of Vermont. But that would leave out a longtime incumbent Thomas DuPois with 1,305 votes. He would be coming in that 7th, just one out of gaining a seat back onto the Board of Aldermen. He's an incumbent. John Chaffee Jr. at 1,149, and Sherry Prouty with 1,139 coming in 9th. That's 6 out of 9 candidates that would be elected tonight. The big story there would be Thomas DuPois losing his seat on the Board of Aldermen. If this holds up, he would be 7th. You have to be, in this case, in the top 6. That top 6, again, Joe Barbagallo, in order of finish, Carrie Savage, Alex Adams, Billy Gillum, Kiana McClure, and John McCann. There's your top 6. So the margin there is about 34 votes between John McCann and Thomas DuPois, with Tom coming in at 1,305 in that 7th place. And then a more significant drop, the next two, with John Chaffee Jr. at 1,149 and Sherry Prouty at 1,139 votes. So there is some change on the Board of Aldermen as well. And of course, there will be change with the seat of the president of the Board of Aldermen, because Mike Dunges was the president of the board and currently is, but is giving up his seat on the Board of Aldermen and as president of the board. So you'll be looking at a new president of the board to be elected and to be determined, as it appears Mike Dunges is the new mayor of the city of Rutland. Just because I know Larry Kupeli is keeping track, Larry's totals for tonight for the one-year seat on the Board of Aldermen were 1,981, and a longtime elected official in the city of Rutland, Cheryl Hooker, with 2,030 votes. So two very popular people, Larry Kupeli and Cheryl Hooker, both successful in gaining their one-year term on the Board of Aldermen tonight. So you've got 8 seats, 2 of which were uncontested, if you will, and 6 that were contested with 9 candidates. Again, Joe Barbagallo coming in first, Carrie Savage second, Alex Adams third. Quite a showing for Alex Adams, quite frankly, as a newcomer to this. It's a pretty respectable finish. Billy Gillum, 4th, Kiana McClure, 5th, and John McCann, 6th. The surprise there would be the unseating of incumbent Thomas DuPois coming in, it appears to be 7th by about 34 vote margin there. And then John Chaffee Jr. and Sherry Prouty following quite a bit behind those two. And getting a lot of paper here, but I will keep track. The Rutland School Commissioners in order. Ryan Carney, the top vote getter, 1,446 votes to Ryan Carney. 1,446 for school commissioner. We're taking 4. Kathy Solsa, 1,478. Heather Hawk, 1,362. And that last seat going to incumbent Kevin Kafaber with 1,345. So the one individual finishing just out of the running then is Mary McDonald with 1,194. Ryan Carney, Kathy Solsa, incumbent, Heather Hawk, and Kevin Kafaber, also incumbent, all winning the 4 seats for Rutland School Commissioner, with Mary McDonald finishing just out of the running in 5th with 1,194 votes. So there's your new and returning school commissioners. They have a budget that was passed tonight by Rutland City voters, so they get to start with a budget. And also, with Allison not stepping off the board and was the chair, they will also be looking at a new chairman of the board for the city school commissioners. So you've got quite a bit of change with the mayoral seat turning over, the president of the Board of Aldermen turning over, and the president of the school board turning over, if you will. A lot of change afoot in Rutland City right now. So let's see, we have looking for anything that is contested. And here comes some more results, so we're just going to see if there's any contests on there that we can result. Well, here's the budget articles. Good to have the tallies. The school budget passes significant margin, 62% yes, 38% no for the school budget in Rutland City. That's 1,850 votes yes to 1,149 votes no to the Rutland City school budget. So that item has passed with a 62% yes vote, pretty significant. And then the municipal budget, even more significant, and breaks out quite cleanly, 75-25. So 3 out of every 4 people voted for the municipal budget. And that was 2,183 votes yes to just 741 votes no, but both are significant margins. People supported both the school budget tonight in Rutland City and the municipal budget pretty soundly. So that's good that those folks, so Mike Dunges as the mayor-elect will start with a $23,261,062 municipal budget to work with. And now I'm just going to jump back because we had also, there may be a lot of people wondering about the results for the social service agencies, which we haven't recounted or haven't counted for yet. So let's look at some of those real quick. Let's go ahead and just start by the biggest wards and work back so you can see what the trends are. And that would be Christ the King. So now I've got to put it together and make a match. And Article 1, which is, let's see, make sure, yeah, social service articles, Article 1, which is Brock Community Action, 644 votes yes to 343 votes no. Article 2, which is the ARC, as we mentioned, 755 yes, 229 no. The Vermont Center for Independent Living is Article 3, 745 yes, 244 no. Article 4 is RAVNA, if you will, Rutland Area Visiting Nurse Association and Hospice, 795 yes to 197 no. Article 5, which is the, we mentioned the one-to-one program, RSVP, and Southwestern Vermont Council on Aging, 716 yes to 256 no. Article 6, which is the bus, 598 yes, 374 no. Article 7 is the Rutland Mental Health ballot question, 696 yes, 281 no. Article 8 is New Story Center, 702 yes, 282 no. And Article 9 is the Rutland County Free Clinic, 635 yes, 341 votes no. Article 10 is the Vermont Adult Learning, 684 yes, 294 no. Article 11 is the Boys and Girls Clubs, 680 yes, 299 no. Article 12, Regional Ambulance Service, 705 yes, 284 no. Article 13 is the Mentor Connector, 678 yes, 302 no. And Article 14, 616 yes, 370 no. So just looking at those, I think it's safe to say, and we can flip to the Godnick real quick, but I would say that all of the social service articles appear to have passed. So let me just see if there's any anomalies. In the next largest ward, and there are not. So for those tuning in for the social service agencies, all 14 have passed tonight in the city of Rutland. All 14 social service agency requests have passed tonight in the city of Rutland. Going to the tally for the local option tax, that has passed significantly again, 59% yes to 41% no, 1,729 votes yes, 1,216 votes no for the local option tax. And the establishment of the Capital Improvement Reserve Fund also passes 65-35%, 1,881 yes, 1,029 no. Okay. Let me just look at, real quick, I just want to look and see the bond articles, just to give you a flavor of what's going on with those. I'll start with the largest one so we can just see what the trends are. And it looks like there was 3 bond articles, starting with the largest ward, Christ the King, 748 yes to 233 no on one, 782 to 193, and 630 to 350. So I'm going to look at Godnick, and if that's no anomalies there, then it's safe to say that all of the bond articles passed too. And yes, there are no anomalies there. So it looks like we passed all of the bond articles this evening as well, which included some culvert repairs, some pond repair, some infrastructure repair to roads, etc. Now let me see, because we want to also talk about some things going on outside of town for a second here, West Rutland. I want to see if they had a contest anywhere here that we want to report on, and select person, no. Lister. It doesn't look like there were any particular contests, but the budget did pass. The paving article passed, the RSVP. Well, let's just stick with those for now. So yes, the budget has passed by a pretty wide margin. It looks like 184 to 74. 184 yes, 74 no. And the paving articles, which looks like Article 5 and then Article 6, passed 205 yes to just 49 no. So I'm just going to go back to their officials real quick just to see if there was anything that is contested that we want to report on. And that's 2 for 2 and 1 and 1. It doesn't look like they had any contested races, so we'll leave it right there for that. But the budget in West Rutland did in fact pass, as well as their paving article. It's just pouring in now, so we appreciate all the small towns too, and the city clerks and everyone making the time to report these results to us. So in breaking this out on the Brown articles, to clarify a little bit more, it looks like the first one was regarding, as I mentioned, some repair to streets, culverts, and some rehabilitation of some sidewalks. Article 1, 79% in favor of that, yes, and 21% no. 2,323 yes to just 633 no. The second one was about extending water mains and so forth. The first one, 3,500,000. The second one, 2,500,000. 81% yes, 19% no. 2,386 yes to 543 no. And the last one, 1,850,000, was again for the construction and completion of the combination pond and Piedmont Pond improvement projects, and the construction and completion of Meadow Street combined sewer separation project. So that was 1,100,000 for the Meadow Street and $750,000 for the ponds, a total of $1,850,000, passing 64% to 36%, 1,895 yes, and 1,043 no. So the bond articles pass soundly. The 14 social service agencies passed soundly. The city municipal budget passed soundly. The city school budget passed soundly. And the big news tonight, it appears that Mike Dunges is the new mayor of the city of Rutland, mayor-elect, if you will, the former president of the Board of Aldermen, or current president for another couple of weeks, but soon to be a mayor of the city of Rutland, Mike Dunges. And the big news being that the incumbent mayor, three-term mayor, David Allaire, appears to have lost his seat as mayor of the city of Rutland, and there'll be a lot of change. And as I indicated, the president of the Board of Aldermen was Mike Dunges, so you'll have a new president of the Board of Aldermen, and the president of the school board, Allison Knott, not running for re-election. So you'll have a new president of the school board as well. So some fairly significant changes coming to City Hall. Along those lines, those individuals will be starting with an approved school budget. They'll be starting with an approved municipal budget. Mayor-elect Dunges would be starting with approved bond issues, as well as a municipal tax, local option tax. I think still has to go through legislative approval, if memory serves me correct, but that would be increased from 6 to 7% in the city of Rutland, consistent with the town of Rutland, which surrounds us, which is already at 7%. I understand that 30% of those revenues go to the state, and the balance can be used in the city, and that charter question actually had the specific uses of those funds if you read the detail. And let's go back then to talk about those school board races, and one more time, and the Board of Aldermen, because you've got some change there. On the Board of Aldermen, he was an appointment and then kept his seat, ran for re-election to his seat. Joe Barbagallo coming in top vote getter tonight. Also, incumbent Carrie Savage winning re-election. Newcomer Alex Adams winning election and coming in third, which is very impressive and significant in your first time out like that. Billy Gillum, incumbent, coming in fourth, a good finish for Billy. Newcomer Kiana McClure coming in fifth, and newcomer John McCann coming in sixth. So that's the top six for the Rutland City Board of Aldermen. And just finishing out of the running, again, unofficially, but we think our numbers are pretty accurate here at PEG TV, about 34 votes shy of the next finisher, Thomas DePoy, who would be finishing out of the running and lose his seat on the Board of Aldermen if that holds up. That is the total of all four wards at this point. And typically the absentee votes and everything are run through the counter. So these are usually not missing any votes that come in after the fact, to my knowledge. John Chaffee Jr. finishing out of the running at 1,149, followed by Sherry Prouty getting that ninth spot, 1,139 votes for the Board of Aldermen. And I'll get into that in a second, but let me just, as to who they'll be joining on the board, but let me just go back to the school commissioners for a moment, because you've got another newcomer, Ryan Carney, as top vote getter tonight. That's impressive. 1,446 votes for Ryan Carney, followed by then the clerk of the board, who is an incumbent, Kathy Solsa, 1,478 votes, followed by Heather Hawk with 1,362 votes. And I think, again, then followed by the the other incumbent, Kevin Kefauber, 1,345 votes, and finishing just out of the running, so you're taking four, you had five running, Mary McDonald with 1,194 votes. So that would be the fifth and just out of the running. So congratulations to those 4. And let me see somewhere here. I think I have the people they'll be joining. Current members of the school commission, Sarah Atkins-Dunges, Karen Bossi. Peter Fagan stepped away. Congratulations and thank you, Peter, for filling that spot for a temporary moment, coming out of the legislature and joining the school board briefly. And I think Peter's actually trying to retire for real this time, but he's done a great service to the community over the years, and we appreciate Peter Fagan. Courtney Collins and Mary Beth Lennox Levens. Allison Knott again stepping away, president of the school board. Tricia O'Connor, she'll be up next year along with Charlene Seward. And then Stephanie Studley, and she would also be up next year. So that's who this new group will be joining. And on the Board of Aldermen, those newcomers will be joining Sharon Davis, who's up for election next year. Tom Dupuy it appears, will not be returning. Mike Dunges, of course, we knew was not returning. Thomas Franco, not returning. Anna Taddeo is also currently on the board till next year. Joe Barbagallo, reelected. Billy Gillum Jr., reelected. Carrie Savage, reelected. Michael Talbot is serving on the board right now until next year. He'll be joined by the newcomers, along with Matt Wickham, who had stepped away, and then Larry Coopeley, who was just reelected that 1 year. So that seat would come up again next year and be added on as a 2-year term. Looks like Jim is going to bring us some more totals, a whole bunch of fancy colors. So these are the social service agencies, but I'm just going to look, and if they've all passed, we won't need to get into the totals, percentages on those. But they have all passed, and by significant margins. So let's look at, this looks like the Killington Australian ballot results for the school district. I don't have all of this I do have it here in front of me somewhere. Let me just look at the ones coming in here and see if there is anything contested, is what I'm looking for. This is Mount Holly. And well, there is one aspect in Mount Holly I'll mention, because there's the school board seats where they had 3-year terms and there was vote for not more than 4. You actually had 2 candidates. So that was Julie McKenzie. She received 193 votes out there in Mount Holly, followed by Judith Polinen with 154 votes. But then there was write-in votes, and it looks like that would be the next candidate, David Venter, with 60. And then I'm going to go with Catherine Kliskowski. I'm going to go with that, 18 votes. So that would be your 4, with 2 of those being write-ins, because you had 2 candidates and 2 successful write-ins. It looks like David Venter and Catherine Kliskowski, it looks like. David with 18 and Catherine, I'm sorry, with 18, and David Venter with 60. So that's kind of interesting. A couple of write-ins winning for the school board in Mount Holly, because there was 4 open seats and just 2 candidates. The general fund budget passed out there. The highway fund budget passed. The equipment fund budget passed. Volunteer fire department passed. They better. And it looks like basically all articles in the town of Mount Holly passed by a fairly significant margin. And we're going to just jump around here because there's a few towns, Pittsford, our friends up there. I'm looking to start with any contested races, and there aren't any. So everybody, congratulations in Pittsford. All right. Wallingford, we're going to go back to, I think, same. No contested races. And it appears all of the budget line items and requests in the town of Wallingford have also passed. People are in the mood to say yes. Real quick, we have Town of Proctor results. Again, I'm not sure that these were contested. It was typed up a little differently. So Andrew Moss, moderator, Select Board 3-year Benjamin Curtis, Select Board 2-year Linda Doty, Corey Valley School Director Lisa Miser, Town Treasurer Celia Lisananti, maybe? And also Town Clerk Celia. Celia went for both. That's the Town of Proctor. Let's see, let's keep going. Some more tallies. Okay, this is the other social service agencies, but again, all have passed Rutland City by a significant margin, so that's about all you need to know about that. But 14 social service questions, but some include some that are sort of infrastructure related. In other words, the Marble Valley Regional Transit District keeps running with a $46,000 request and passing 65 to 35%. So that's good to know. A lot of people count on the bus for their transportation around the Rutland region. So let me just quickly look here, and I'm just going to keep moving them on like so. And this was the West Rutland one, and I'm just looking for anything significant, but no one was contested out there. And so I think it comes down to just the articles and their budget, most significant information there. Of course, the budget passes and the paving article passed as well. Okay, let's keep going. Some of these articles I don't have the detail, so I'm just going to pass on that one. I could have to marry it up in here, but we're not going to take the time to do that right now. And so maybe this does, let's see. Actually, yes, I can match up Killington. Because we do want to see, for instance, let's jump ahead to see what Killington has decided on their tax increment finance district. And this will take me just a second to find. And that is Article 5. So it appears, let's see, Article 5. 6. Yeah, so actually I think these do not match up. It's not the ones I thought. So I don't want to announce that without knowing for sure that I have it right. So we're going to wait on this one. But we still are interested in knowing if the town of Killington passed the tax increment finance district. So if we get some information on that and can determine that, we'd love to announce that tonight. That is what I described earlier as a tool for attracting development to a certain area of a community, oftentimes a blighted area, but it can be just an area that they are trying to enhance development as well, or infrastructure improvements, and that is done by that increment of financing taxes above what is the starting point of the beginning of the tax increment financing district. Everything incrementally that increases over that is reinvested back into the community that it represents in infrastructure and other improvements. Social service agencies, again, still everybody passing, not going to get into that detail. I really would like to give that Killington one, though. So there's the alderman. Mendon we did. So I think we should get back to just some of the major results coming. Wait, what? There is, that's the sample ballot. Okay. Whittling down my pile here. And I do sincerely appreciate the city of Rutland responding so quickly, and then the outlying towns that have written in, sincerely appreciate that. I know particularly even if you have uncontested races, you had budgets that were being looked at to be passed or not, and other articles like that. And it's nice to be able to report on those, that your budgets are passed or your infrastructure articles are passed. So thank you for getting those to us. I'm sure your town appreciates it. They're watching PEG TV tonight. So again, we'll just mention that Mary Markowski is reelected to Rutland City Treasurer with 2,670 votes, and Katie Burke-Langlois reelected to City Assessor with 2,511 votes, and those are both uncontested 2-year terms. So we won't be thinking about those next year, but congratulations to both Mary Markowski and Katie Burke-Langlois. The big news of the night tonight, Mike Dunges with a significant win, frankly, over David Allaire with what appears to have been 57% of the vote going to Mike Dunges, current president of the Rutland City Board of Aldermen, to incumbent mayor, 3-term mayor David Allaire with 43% of the vote. Mike Dunges would have received a total of 1,710 votes to David Allaire's 1,267. We have a total registered vote count in Rutland City of 11,821. The voter turnout today was 25%, or 2,977 voters. A little light, frankly, for a mayoral year, as tradition goes, but that group has decided who the next mayor of Rutland is, and that looks like it's Mike Dunges. Other changes to report. Again, the re-election, congratulations to Larry Cooper Coopely on his re-election to the Board of Aldermen for the 1-year term with 1,981 votes and the other 2-year seat going to, 1-year seat going to longtime public servant Cheryl Hooker. Congratulations to Cheryl Hooker with 2,030 votes. And on the Rutland City Board of Aldermen, congratulations to top vote getter Joe Barbagallo running for re-election. He was an appointment and ran for re-election. Carrie Savage, who is an incumbent on the board. Joe Barbagallo leading with 1,840 votes, followed by Carrie Savage, 1,486 votes. Followed by newcomer Alex Adams, who we described at the beginning of the program having a fairly significant health event last week, but who is appearing to be every day incrementally better. Our hearts and prayers are going out to Alex Adams, and if it makes him feel this much better tonight to know that he had a significant finish for Rutland City Board of Aldermen, for a newcomer to come in third is outstanding. And so very happy moment for the family, a well-known Rutland family who has really been in a very difficult time since last Thursday when Alex was admitted to the hospital and has spent most of this week in the intensive care unit and is apparently incrementally getting better. And that's the great news. And additionally now, he has been elected to the Rutland City Board of Aldermen with a really impressive finish coming in third. Our hearts and prayers to the family as they, and our best wishes for a complete recovery for Alex. And he'll have a seat on the Board of Aldermen waiting for him when he turns the corner and returns to Rutland. William Billy Gillum coming in next, 1,430 votes. Fifth seat, Kiana McClure, 1,399 votes. And John McCann, newcomer, along with Kiana, newcomer, 1,339 votes. And that was enough to secure those top six seats that were up tonight. And what that does is leaves Thomas DuPois out of the running with 1,305 votes. He would come in seventh, just out of the running. John Chaffee Jr. with 1,149 votes, and Sherry Prouty, 1,139 votes. And that would be the total 9 candidates for the Rutland City Board of Aldermen in the top 6 there. So change there with the Board of Aldermen, one incumbent losing their seat. So you'll have one additional new member of the Board of Aldermen, one additional new member, as well as a new president of the Board of Aldermen, as Mike Dunges is now mayor-elect. Okay, so we have a couple of small towns coming in. This is Danby, but again, looking for, so this was a, see if this is a select seat. It doesn't say. Oh, yes. Oh, no. Town moderator. Okay. So Dan Garceau. It looks like 353 votes, and it appears right in for town moderator. See if we have anything. Selectman Thomas Fuller, 324 votes. Again, not contested. It looks like a write-in. These all appear to say write-in. Steve Haynes for Selectman, 3-year. The other one was 2-year. 306 votes. Town Clerk, Janice Arnold, 342 votes. Jennifer Millard, Treasurer, 342 votes. Exactly the same number as Janice Arnold. Douglas White, 343 votes. He got one more, and that is for Tax Collector. Brian Batiste, 154 votes. So here is the auditor, and Lona Burden receives 191 votes to Brian Batiste's 154 votes. So for auditor in the town of Danby, Lona Burden wins over Brian Batiste. So there's some breaking news. Brian Batiste was elected to the Lister's 3-year term with 302 votes. And it looks like candidates for trustee of public funds, 3 years. And you're choosing one, and that looks like it goes to Shelley Taylor with 228 votes to James Viscosy, 139 votes. So there it is from the front in Danby. And one last one, this is Ira, and this is the official Vermont annual town school district meeting ballot. And it looks like Christine Tominski, 72 votes for auditor. Deborah Perry, 72 votes for tax collector. Janine Peterson, 68 votes for lister. And as school directors, Mary Middigy for school director, 3-year term. Moderator for the school district, 1-year term, Mary Middigy, 8. And select board, Nathan Hewitt, 72. And moderator, 1-year term, Mary Middigy, 11. So those folks are wearing many hats in the town of Ira, and good for them. So let's go back to the budget articles for one moment. I wanted to mention that the charter article on the local option tax, again, I'm going to repeat to say that it did pass 59% to 41%. That's 1,729 votes to 1,216. So the city of Rutland has, for our part of it, has adopted a local option tax. And the only thing I'm not sure of, I seem to recall that then has to be approved by the legislature, but that could possibly be approved, I would imagine, this session. So it could be in place this year. Since we're only in March and the session usually goes on till mid-May. Let's see, in the Capital Improvement Reserve Fund, 65% to 35% yes and no, 1,881 yes and 1,229 no. So there is the establishment of the Capital Improvement Reserve Fund in the city of Rutland. Bond articles all passed in the city of Rutland. Article 1, which was the culverts and the rehabilitation of some streets and sidewalks, $3.5 million, 79% yes and 21% no. That's 2,323 yes to 633 no. So that's a significant margin, followed by a more significant margin, 81% to 19%, for Article 2, $2.5 million for water mains and related appurtenances within the city's water distribution system. 2,386 yes and 543 no. And the third bond article, $1,850,000 for construction and completion of combination and Piedmont Pond improvement projects and the construction and completion of the Meadow Street combined sewer separation project. Those passed by a 64% margin, 1,894 yes, 1,043 no. So all bond articles passed in the city. The charter articles regarding the Capital Improvement Reserve Fund and the local option tax passed in the city. And let's get, again, just to recap, we recapped the Board of Aldermen, and let's recap the school commissioners. Ryan Carney being, again, the top vote getter with 1,446 votes. And I believe Ryan is a newcomer, so that's impressive to come in top vote getter. Congratulations to Ryan Carney, followed by incumbent Kathy Solsa with 1,478 votes, followed by Heather Hawk with 1,362 votes, and again, Kevin Kafaber, who is the also incumbent, 1,345 votes. We are electing four seats with 5 candidates. Mary McDonald falling just outside the running there with 1,194. So Mary was not elected to the school board tonight out of those 5 candidates, but you've got 2 out of those 4 that are newcomers, and so you'll have 2 new faces on the school board, in addition to the election of a new school board president. Going back for a moment to the mayoral race, the results appear to be about 43% for David Allaire and 57% for Mike Dunges, a total of 1,267 votes for the incumbent mayor, David Allaire, and new current Board of Aldermen president, Mike Dunges, winning for mayor tonight with 1,710 votes, about 57%. These are Danbytown articles, and I just want to see if there's anything particularly notable. It looks like, it does look like all of the questions, the social service agencies, and by the way, that includes in this one the Chamber and Economic Development of the Rutland Region, or CEDAR, asking for funds that typically go towards the Regional Marketing Initiative, if I remember correctly, and that passed, as an example here, 233 yes to 136 no. So it's a little bit different request than the typical ballot items that would be for social service agencies. And also in Danby, the fire department question passed overwhelmingly, 349 yes to 43 no. Granville Rescue Squad, 349 yes, 37 no, and so on. Looking for something else that might be significant, but everything else, if you're looking for social service requests and you're on any of these towns, they've all passed. I haven't found any that have failed. So without reading each and every one from each and every town so far, just if you're following for the social service agencies tonight, Yeah, I haven't seen any in any town that have not passed. So we have a very generous community, and they appreciate the hard work of the social service agencies and what they accomplish for our community. You know, I have a saying, the foundation of a great community is only as strong as how we treat our most vulnerable. And so when we support the social service agencies, it shows what a great community we are in how we treat our most vulnerable here and making sure we take care of each other. And that is truly makes a strong foundation in a great community. Looking for anything I haven't reported on yet that might be of significant interest, but at this point, I think we have covered it all. Some breaking news. Again, we want to give our sincere heart and prayers to Alex Adams and his family and friends in this region for a full recovery. He is in UVM Medical Center this evening, been there since Thursday after having a heart event that was significant and was in the ICU all this time, but seems to be making incremental progress, and we want to let everybody know that we're with you. And Alex came in third tonight in the voting in the Rutland City Board of Aldermen, which is pretty impressive for a newcomer. So this one, if we can find anything of particular interest, is the Medowee School District. But again, I'm going to look for anything. So it's the budget and so forth. Everything passes. So I'm trying to find anything without going through every line. Find anything that might have failed. Otherwise, you all passed. But it looks like the general fund pass, town highway expenses pass. Everything's passing with capital budget, wastewater treatment plant, townwide reappraisal fund, fire department, of course. Better pass that one. The rescue squad, also a good idea to pass that one. And so on. I don't see anything of particular that didn't pass by a wide margin. And just taking a moment to look through to make sure. Again, social service agencies all pass. And this is Pollitt. And again, social service agencies all passing in Pollitt. Still looking. And even some kind of unusual questions like, shall the town vote to exempt from real estate tax for a period of 5 years property owned by the West Pollitt Volunteer Fire Department? And the answer to that was yes, 247. And only 26 people did not think that was a good idea. And the same for the others. All passing. Let's see, one last page here from Pollitt. See if there's any breaking news before we move on. Again, uncontested seats, but a lot of folks that have been there a long time. Deborah Hawkins, as town clerk, reelected, 267 votes, and that's a 3-year term. So congratulations to Deborah Hawkins. And Pollitt is again returning as town clerk. Town treasurer Julie Mock, 265. Select board, there was 2, Perry Brown and Jessica Van Oort. And Perry Brown had 226 and Jessica 198. But both of them elected, obviously. Write-ins were just 9, so no contest there. And just looking for anything contested, but there doesn't seem to be. So that's it for Pollitt. Let's see what we've got here. So it looks like there was just an adjustment in the mayor's race, but not of any significance. So I'm going to just look at what we had for a total, but let me give you the total we believe now is 44% to Allaire with 56% to Dungas. So it just changes by, I think, 1%. But that still leaves Mike Dungas with 1,710 votes to Mayor Allaire's 1,317 votes. So it's showing a voter turnout of a little bit larger, and I think that's what changes these numbers just a little bit. Voter turnout of 26%, and now it's into the numbers that I more anticipated, 3,027 votes in total, 3,027, which sounds more like the typical mayoral year. It was almost is always in the 3,000s. Now, still a little low, but still in the 3,000s. 3,027 votes cast out of 11,821 total registered voters in the city of Rutland for a voter turnout of 26%. 56% of that going to Mike Dungas with 1,710 votes, the new mayor of Rutland City, Mike Dungas. With David Allaire receiving 44% of the votes, 1,317. How did that break out by ward? In Ward 1, Godnick Center, David Allaire received 277 votes and Mike Dungas received 397 votes. The largest ward in the city, Christ the King, 447 votes to David Allaire, Mike Dungas 561 votes. American Legion, Ward 3, 228 votes to David Allaire with 302 going to Mike Dungas. And the Calvary Church, 365 votes at Calvary Church for David Allaire, Mike Dungas 450. So a clean sweep of all 4 wards in the city going to Mike Dungas by fairly significant margins tonight. The current president of the Rutland City Board of Aldermen, who is now mayor-elect, which means he'll be stepping, of course, off the board as he did not run for re-election to his term, and that opens up the seat for president of the Board of Aldermen to be determined, TBD. And I think that covers it. I'm going to look at what time we have tonight at our election night coverage. It's already 8:40. I don't see that we have anything significant coming in. I'm going to look and see if there's any. So I want to thank Representative Jim Harrison, representative from the town of Killington and surrounding, who said that the tax increment financing in Killington, which was Article 5, did pass. So thank you very much, Jim Harrison. There's some news right from the front. We were hoping to get that tax increment financing vote in Killington because that's a fairly significant decision that they were making. And thanks to Representative Jim Harrison, he has texted me the detail, and Killington Tax Increment Financing District in Killington has in fact passed. He did send a ticker tape, and I don't know if I can actually see the, got one more here, Fairhaven, okay. Let me just look and see if I can see, and I don't want to miscall this one, so I'm not going to probably take a chance on it. Oh, there it is, yeah, okay, well. So thank you again, Jim. Article 5, he sent the ticker tape. The yes votes were 337 to no votes 119. Now this is in the tax increment financing district question for the town of Killington. A significant margin, so 456 votes total, 337 of those yes in Killington for the tax increment financing district to 119 no. So definitely a clear margin there to support that, and I want to again thank Jim Harrison for sending that information. That was the one we were hoping to get, so that was fantastic. And since we're still rolling along here and some of the towns are kind enough to send, I'm just going to report for anyone paying attention in Fairhaven tonight. It looks like moderator Cecile Hunt, 471, uncontested, most of these uncontested. Donald Proctor, first constable, 449. Selectman Rich Greeno, 396, and Jason Scott Kupal, 315. Again, those two uncontested. Glenn Travers, selectman for a 3-year term, uncontested, 414. Congratulations to Glenn. Chad Vigor, 399, selectman for a 1-year. And then town treasurer, here's a race. So you had Sharon Adams running against or with Tracy Richards, and that was a 3-year term for town treasurer, and Sharon Adams wins decisively with 321 votes to Tracy Richards' 136 for the town treasurer in Fairhaven. So there was a contested race. We found one. Library trustee Ronald Stack, 410. Seal Hunt, 461. Those are uncontested terms. Trustee of Public Funds Maureen Hall, 450. And town auditor Lillian Bilowitz, 256. Let's see if there's some select board budget passes. Let's see if there's anything failed. Not yet. Fairhaven appropriate, let's see. So it looks like, again, okay, here's one that, so Article 6 says, shall the town authorize the elimination of the office of town auditor with future audits to be provided by a public accountant licensed in the state in accordance with 17 VSA 20 subsection 265(1)B. And the voters said, no, the town shall not eliminate the town office of auditor and send future audits to be provided by a public accountant. 226 yes to eliminating the town, the elimination of office of town auditor. 266 no to eliminating the town office auditor. So the town auditor remains in the town of Fairhaven. So there's one that was kind of a reverse yes was a no, in effect, or a reverse no was a yes. Recreation and Parks Maintenance Reserve Fund passes. Compensation requests, Municipal Building Reserve Fund, everything's pass. Of course, the Rescue Squad, good idea. And then the social service agencies, one that is right there in Fairhaven, for instance, Fairhaven Concerned, which is Article 13, wins 292 to 113, so good for Fairhaven Concerned. And then all of the others, Rutland Mental Health, Broad Community Action, RSVP and Volunteer Center, VNA and Hospice Southwest Region, ARC Rutland Area, Castleton Community Seniors, Bravo Valley Regional Transit District, Fairhaven Boys and Girls Club, Southwestern Vermont Council on Aging, all passing, along with Child First Advocacy Center, Regional Ambulance Service, Rutland County Free Clinic, and property tax exemption for Eureka Lodge number 75, free and accepted Masons, passes. And that should do it. So everything passes in the town of Fairhaven, except the request to eliminate the town auditor position, and that failed. So the town auditor is keeping the town auditor was a yes in reverse. 266 no to eliminating that position, and 226 yes to eliminating that position. So the position remains. And that is in the town of Fairhaven. So great, good news from the front, right there. Okay, so we're back to where we were before that last little tidbit of information came in. We're going to look at the clock one more time, 8:47. I want to thank Jim Harrison one more time for letting us know that the Tax Increment Financing District in Killington, Article 5, did in fact pass, and it passed by a fairly large margin, 357 yes to 119 no. So that was great information coming from the front right there. Thank you, Jim. And anything else coming in? Yes. We're getting the one finger up. Yes, something else is coming in. So we're going to hang in there a few more minutes. It is right now. Going to go like that, and it's 8:47. And the note says, Mike Dungus is on his way. So we're actually going to stay on the air and talk to Mayor-elect Mike Dungus. I'm very appreciative of him coming down to PEG TV. Also good politically for him to do that because so many of you watch PEG TV. And why wouldn't you? It's the best community access television in the state of Vermont, and I dare say all of New England. It's a great way to get the information out about all of our various select boards throughout the county, our school boards, our Board of Aldermen, social service agencies, and sports programs. It's just amazing here at PEG TV. They've come so far over the years, and now reaching out so that you can watch this on your favorite handheld device, whether that's your iPhone, your iPad, your laptop, your good old television with your remote. And now they're on the guide, so you can actually see what's on PEG TV by looking on the guide in your cable guide online. And of course, PEGTV.com, right there on the web. They're on YouTube. It's just absolutely impressive what community access television in the Rutland region has turned into as an information source. And as an example, on nights like tonight, cutting edge information about local races throughout the county and right here in the city. And it's presented to you in just moments throughout social media. This was broadcasting live on Facebook tonight as an example. And of course, right here on 1085, with Rich Elnicki being the program director. And so while we're waiting for Mike Dungus, and we're going to wait for Mike Dungus, let me give you the thank yous again tonight to Tom Leopold, Nancy Donahue, Chelsea Tice, Sarah Nadler, Rich Elnicki, again, the 1085, Channel 1085 program director here, Jim Boughton, William Chmielewski, I'm going to keep saying that till I get it right, William Chmielewski, Greg McCormick, who's brother of Chris McCormick, by the way, in case you're wondering where that name sounds familiar, sons of the late Frank McCormick, Stephen Wilson, and Chris Donahue, who is also slightly related to me as my son, whose birthday was yesterday, and I'll just throw out another happy birthday to my son, Chris Donahue, and is helping out here at PEG TV. So with that group, we want to thank. I'll also give a shout out to Gail Townsend-Lang, sitting in the audience of one this evening, who is always supporting the activities here at Community Access Television, and of course up at Stafford Technical Center. So I'm sure that she was also happy to hear the significant margin that the budget passed by, the Rutland City School budget. Congratulations to all of those administration that worked so hard to put together this budget along with the school board. It's a lot of work, and it is very important to our region to have that school budget passed and intact and allow these new school board members, along with soon to be a new board president, to go right to work with the administration that you've got a budget to work with right out of the gates. You've seen in the past sometimes of different stories where school budgets have gone to 3 and 4 votes and so forth, and it does make it very difficult for them to administer. We're putting our money where our mouth is when it comes to educating our children, and I, for one, have always and always will support the school budget. Also, of course, the municipal budget passing by a 3-to-1 margin. 75% of those voting voted yes for the municipal budget. So that's pretty impressive, every 3 out of 4 people. That's a significant victory for City Hall. And soon to be new Mayor Mike Dungus will be able to start his term with the budget intact. Also, all of the charter requests intact, new request for a 1% local option tax, as well as the bond issues for infrastructure improvements. Pretty significant evening tonight. All those of you watching your social service agency votes, all of those passed from what I can see, not only in the city, but in every town reporting in, all the social service agencies did in fact pass. So it looks like we might have another town while we're waiting for Mike Dunges. Yes, the town of Wells. And let's see if there's anything of significance. Anything contested? Again, let's just go to the look through and see if there's anything failing. Otherwise, for those keeping score at home, everything passes. And if you're worried about it, whether you passed or not, you did. You passed. So I'm looking at the numbers here, and basically with all articles for all the social service agencies, again, consistent with the rest of the county, everything appears to have passed. As voters are very generous, and we support each other. And that's how we do it here in Rutland, Vermont. Looking for, looks like the Secret Service has arrived ahead of Mike Dunges. Or no, that was just Jim Boughton, sorry. I thought it was his new protection division. They're going to Middletown Springs. And again, I'm just looking at Wells and not seeing anything that did fail. So, all right, so here's the mayor-elect. Let's bring him right on and pull up a chair. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You're never supposed to do that, you know.
So. I know.
Congratulations, Mike.
Thank you very much.
And so you're on right there.
Yeah,
Are we
okay.
on? Yep, we're good. And I'm still on if I didn't pull my wire out.
Hi.
Oh, gosh, you're catching your breath right now.
I am.
You've got to be catching your breath.
I am catching my breath.
Wow.
You get this wave of exhaustion after everything's over, and then you have to come right back up.
Well, you know what I'm going to do first before I ask any questions?
Yeah.
Is this Mike's camera right here?
Yep. That's me.
All right, let me let you talk to the people of the city of Rutland.
All right. So first of all, I want to say thank you. 6 months ago, back in October, we decided to start early so that you could figure out who I was, so that we could, show you who I was as a Rutlander, who I was as a person, talk about my family, and talk about why I cared about this community. Really took the opportunity to do that as much as possible, and then over the last 2 months, really focused on, the message about Rutland and what we can all do together. We've got some great support out there. It really feels like there's a mandate in Rutland to take the message that we've been talking about in this future vision and really focus on how do we take the Rutland that we all knew and love and go back to that, right? How do we come back to that heyday that we all want? And that's by moving forward. So what I've been saying, especially in the last few weeks, is, we can either let change happen to us, and we see what that means. That means problems that we need to solve and challenges that are new and almost not things that we want to bring to the table, but we have to deal with. Or we can be the ones that make the change. And I think what you find tonight and through this election is that Rutland is ready for change. They're ready for change to happen to it in the way that they want it instead of in the way that it just comes. And I really appreciate the support from everybody. It's been a really, really long campaign cycle. I was saying to everybody, it's been hard. It's been a tough fought, battle to move forward, but it's very rewarding, and actually the real work begins now, and it's going to be even harder, and we're going to need everybody to hop on board so that we're all moving in the same direction for a better Rutland. So thanks.
Well, and starting with that, so the municipal budget did pass. It passed by a 3-to-1 margin, 75%, which is very
fantastic.
significant.
Yeah.
And so that must be something you're fairly pleased with. That actually, when you start your term, you actually start with a municipal budget, which is nice.
Yeah.
I know that you and David Allaire both had supported the local option tax.
Yep.
So that passed again by a fairly significant margin. And now I did have a question, and I think that still has to go.
Thank you.
And Mike, you may know, and if memory serves me correctly, that still has to get approved by the Vermont State Legislature. Is that correct? And if so, I think there might be enough time in this session to pass that.
So we want to try to get it passed as fast as possible. Any charter change needs to go to the legislature, and so both of the pieces, right? So the 1% option tax and the account that we want to put some of that money into the capital improvement fund.
I see.
Both will need to be passed.
And
by
that
the
passed as
legislature.
well, as we know.
Yeah, so that'll be great, and we can start to invest. Right. One of the other things I've been saying is we need to invest, and investing is really important. If you invest now, you can actually be, you can make, at least save money in the long term, if not be, in a better position financially. So, I think we've talked about constantly, over the last, 10 years of, growing the grand list and relieving the burden on the taxpayer. Those are big items, and those are really heavy things, and there's things we all want to do. There's no question.
Right.
Everybody wants a little bit of tax relief, right?
I'm a property taxpayer.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, right. So I think when you think about that, when we have the 1% option tax, when we can choose to invest in big projects, we can take the burden off of the property taxpayer and leverage people who are shopping in our community as that grows, as we get more retail, as we get more restaurants, as things continue to grow, because that's our target, right? Our target is growth. So as we get there, I think you'll find that those tools become even more valuable to have in the toolbox. So I'm really excited that the residents of Rutland have, and the voters have supported that this time around.
Jim Harrison had just texted me that because I was hoping that someone would give us a smoke signal on what the results of the tax increment financing vote in Killington was, and it actually passed by a fairly significant margin, almost 3-1 on that as well.
Yeah.
And so there was talk during the aldermanic debate quite a bit about, TIF is the acronym, but TIF, tax increment financing, and they're usually districts that are identified. But I don't recall exactly seeing that on the city ballot per se. It was discussed a lot with the Board of Aldermen. So wouldn't that still have to go to a vote?
That'll still have to go to vote at some point, right? And it's actually, if you look, the TIF district is something that's, once it's granted, so to speak, from the state, then you go to bond, and that was what passed, right? It was the financial side, I believe, is what passed in Killington, if I'm not mistaken. So that, are we allowed to go and borrow that money and use it for this project that we've already identified and been approved for?
Right.
So what we've been talking about in Rutland is how to do that in certain areas of the city. There's a couple of locations. It's a project in process, so to speak.
Okay.
But if we have that, what that does is that saves taxpayers money for improvements in the city. There's no money out of Rutland City resident taxpayers' pockets if we get a TIF and if there's investment, right? So if we want to pave a road around, say, a new hotel, or if we want to put in new sidewalks or even a pedestrian bridge or things like that, anything where the city would normally invest and have to pay, and you'd have to pay it as taxes.
Right. It can be done with the increment.
It can be done with the increment instead, and that actually saves the taxpayer money, and it actually helps the developer too, because they would normally have to invest in those sorts of things, but their taxes are going to invest in it. So it's a really nice thing to have. It's awesome that it passed in Killington. I'm not surprised. They worked really hard. They did a great campaign of communicating to their constituency what needed to be done. So I think they did a fantastic job working through that. And Jim and I were talking at an event a couple weeks ago about how much effort they put in, and it's really nice to see. It's really nice to see that work, and Killington's going to benefit from that, and I think Rutland will in the future, and we're going to continue to work towards that as we identify more projects and recognize where those investments can go.
Right, and that was the question that I was on my mind as a city resident was: have there been districts that have been identified or are on the table as considering? Oftentimes it's a blighted area. Sometimes it's just a place you want to focus a light on increasing that development. It might not be a blighted area. And I didn't know if some areas had already been on the table being considered in Rutland.
Yeah, so
we're only 8 square miles to begin with.
There are absolutely areas on the table being considered, and nothing's been locked in yet. And it's in a working group. So as an alderman, actually, I couldn't be part of that working group because then you have like a quorum, and so that TIF working group is made up of a couple of aldermen, some people from Cedar. So they've kind of identified some areas, but nothing's locked in yet, right? And we also have to make sure that we have projects to go with the areas, right? So you can't just say, hey, I want to do it here because this area needs it. You have to say, here's the project that's going to get us to take place. So whether that's, the hotel in around Center Street, the potential hotel we want to do there, whether it's over by the Lindley, whatever those areas may be, are still kind of in flux, but I think the working group has done a fantastic job. And I, as mayor, I'll most likely get to participate in that. I believe that Dave was participating in it, so.
I think you should.
Yeah, and I want to. I think it's going to be awesome. So.
Yeah, and you can certainly lead with your opinions about where you want that to be,
of course,
and how we want to get that through.
Yeah.
So that will still have to go to a vote. So we'd probably be looking at next March, I guess, really is the next election. We don't have a November.
Yeah.
Aside from a special election.
Right, and again, that's only if the TIF district gets approved, so to speak, first and move. So we have a lot of work to do, but there's a lot of projects on target, and I think we can get there. Absolutely.
I know they exist in all 50 states, so they're they're ubiquitous, and some work well and some don't.
Some don't.
So you have to be careful.
And that's actually been a concern from Montpelier. I've heard it from some of our local representatives that we want to make sure if we do it, we do it right. Right. Yeah. Killington is going to do it right. They've got a great plan together. Rutland, we need to do it right, and we need to make sure that we make the right investments, bond correctly, and work together. And again, that bond is, you're asking the voters for approval on that, like Killington did, but it's not coming out of the voters, the taxpayers' pockets. Right. It's coming out of that investment.
Right,
so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the next question then, of course, you were president of the Board of Aldermen.
Yeah.
And you did not run for re-election.
Right.
So that seat is now becoming open. I think you have about another week in office.
Yeah.
And
yeah, till the 15th is the transition date.
Right. So who's going to be the next president of the Board of Aldermen?
It's really up to the board. It's going to be discussions. I mean, the way we saw tonight go, it may even change from who I thought it might be. So I'm not going to speculate. I'm not even going to take any shots at it whatsoever.
But, I had to put you on the spot.
No, it's fine. I've learned to.
You're mayor now, so it's going to be. You got to get used to the.
Yeah. Also saying I don't know, but I'll find out. I'm just warming you up for what
the next 2 years. I'm like.
Thanks. Yeah. I think that's and that's the cool thing about being mayor versus being board president, right? Although they work together and we collaborate and we should be working together, they really are two different bodies, and that's intentional. So it'll be good to see what the board is able to do and put together and put who they're going to put in that seat. So.
Well, when I worked for Jeff Wenberg, and I was a community development director at that time, after I was president of the Board of Aldermen, he hired me, and I went to work full-time at City Hall, and and my office was in the mayor's office, just with a suite in between, our shared administrative assistant in the middle.
In the middle, yeah, I know.
And when the Board of Aldermen was on in PEG TV, was in its early stages, we had a little TV in the mayor's office. And we would sit in his office and watch what the board was doing. And then if things got awry, then we could just go down the hall
and
say, wait. And that's the way we did it.
That's very interesting.
Very high tech back then.
Very high tech. Little
TV about that big, and thanks to PEG TV, we were able to keep an eye on what was going on. And
I'm just wondering why you just didn't come to the meeting in the first place and sit.
That's a question for the former mayor. I worked for him, remember? So,
there you go. Yeah. Fair enough.
So as far as one other thing I wanted to ask you, though, when you were campaigning, and you did a lot, that the cost of living is really daunting right now for families, and it's getting worse, frankly. We got a little reprieve this winter with fuel prices not really skyrocketing like we thought they were. They're still over $4, but they're not $6. But price of food every time you go to the grocery store is higher and higher and higher. Now, I'm not trying to throw the grocery stores under the bus. It's not their fault. We have some amazing grocery stores here, but just the cost of food. And those things are straining people no matter what, area, no matter what your financial outlook is, the cost. So I'm wondering, when you were out there campaigning and talking to people, what kinds of things you had to hear a lot about that as a primary, it's just getting more and more expensive. Mike, what do I do? Was that the primary thing you're hearing, other than, maybe they wanted some change or vision for the future, but were there some fundamental concerns that were expressed to you?
If I got I sent out a postcard asking for feedback, right? I got a lot of feedback. I got a lot of people walking up to me asking me questions. Everybody is aware that the cost of living has gone up significantly it affects their bottom line. They can't afford the things that they used to. They've had to cut back. But the one thing that stayed pretty consistent, and thanks to the current administration, the current board, is we kept the budget at only 3%. 3% raise. The city can only pull so many levers, and I think that we've done a good job. Like the 1% option tax will help with that. As other people come to shop, that'll relieve here. But it is a concern. Inflation has been fast and furious over the last year. One report says it's going to slow down and ease up. Another report says it's going to keep going. I think what people are starting to sense, it really has started to slow down, at least in my life.
Everywhere but the grocery store.
Everywhere but the grocery store. Yeah, milk and eggs.
I'm not exaggerating.
No, and it's funny because if you think, like, even the egg shortage that we had recently, and those things on a normal day would have been a bump in the road, but now they're a mountain, right? Because of the changes that we're dealing with. So I think there's a lot of awareness to increasing costs over time. And people are struggling, and our job as the city, and you go back and watch any of the Board of Alderman meetings, we're always doing this, like, what can we do? We have to operate, we have to move forward, we have to invest, but what can we do to make sure that our burden is the most efficient, clean, clear, that what we're doing isn't putting any extra weight on anyone else. It's only what we need to do. So I think that's how the city can help in situations like that. I mean, you guys over at Brock, you put a lot of effort into trying to close that gap for people, right? So you have the food shelf over there, and I know you just got those new freezers last year, right? And refrigerators. By being able to,
authority.
Right. So working with those partners to be able to help in those situations is a big deal too. So again, trying to leverage as many resources as possible to help close that gap. But it has been tough for a lot of people, and that comes down to, when they ask, what the question comes down to is usually taxes, cost. What am I going to pay for? Right. So.
Listen, I want you to go celebrate, so I'm not going to hold you up in it, but I do want to just ask you one other thing. One other challenge in the city right now is workforce.
Yeah.
And I know that you did talk a lot about that during the campaign and during the debates and so forth.
Yeah.
But I just want to reiterate what a significant challenge that is, whether you're running a business or running a nonprofit like I do.
Right. It's finding people, right?
Finding people.
And it's
I'm going to tell you what's happening right now is people are just taking employees from each other.
Yeah, it's a shuffle of the deck.
And that doesn't help anybody because you put a lot of training dollars into people, and then somebody else offers them $1 more an hour, and there they go. And it's to the point where everyone's just taking from each other, and it's real, and it's a significant problem.
Yeah.
And there's no real answer immediately in sight. So
it makes things tight when we have housing issues and challenges, when people can't find housing. So even if people did want to move here to fill those positions in those locations, they may have a hard time getting here, right? And then Vermont's cost of living is typically a little bit higher. Rutland's cost of living.
Skiing's great though. So.
Yes, it's amazing. Right. So we have to you have to find the balance, right, like you're saying, but I think the real answer, and what actually I've answered this question, we got a bunch of phone calls tonight from different places asking, what's your first step? I think in the next 2 weeks is evaluating where we're at, looking at what the gap is from where we want to be, at least in the short term, and then saying, okay, here's how the moves we can make to try to fill some of those gaps. So it's like, even with workforce, with housing, with the safety and public safety challenges, with even being able to staff our police force fully, right? Like all of those things, we need to do a gap analysis. Not that those haven't been done, but maybe even dig a little bit deeper and kind of take off where the current administration is and take another step forward and grow on that a little bit. So,
one last question: do you feel you have a renewed support on the Rutland City Board of Aldermen?
I think I always had support. I always felt very well supported as the board president.
2 new members.
Yeah, we got 2 new members. I think they're going to be good. I think, well, we'll have to see. I mean, the people that I've talked to and the way the board rolled out, based on everything that I've seen, I do think it's going to be a very collaborative board. I think is the best way to say that. I think we're all going to work together. When I got on the board, I said one thing: I will have the discussion, I'll have the conversation. I may not agree with you, but at the end of the day, I know we'll all come to a solution. I think that board will be able to do this, right? Everybody that I've talked to and worked with is very open to collaborating and working and solving problems, and we all want to get headed in this positive direction. So I think we'll be able to get there.
Well, it's a great way to start, and I think that's the exactly right attitude to begin your term with. I want to congratulate you. I'm sure that there's people waiting for you to celebrate tonight, and so I don't want to keep you from that, but I do want to thank you for coming down here, coming on our program this evening. It's a special moment for you and for us. Okay. This is one of Rutland's greatest assets, PEG TV.
Oh, absolutely. I was going to mention how much well, first of all, thank you for hosting this, PEG TV. They do this every year. You actually host, right? You MC
Forever,
this every year. And so thank you for having us, and thank you for having me on. And we appreciate it, because we sit and we watch this intently to see those results, and I think a lot of people do, and it's great. It's a great asset to have. I actually interned with PEG TV when I was younger.
You did?
Yeah. I was back when I was in high school. I spent as much time talking to these guys as they can when they come in, and awesome. Great crew here, and we appreciate everything they do. They are the media outlet for our community. They really are the ones that get the news out. So thanks to PEG TV
and
for
the
hosting.
Sports and everything else.
Everything.
Right? Yeah, it's all homegrown right here, hometown stuff, and
it's great.
It's really impressive.
And I feel like I'm going to be spending more time here in this studio, perhaps.
Yeah, I think that it would be a great way to communicate to the public.
Yeah,
so,
and I'd be happy to do it.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
Thank you, everybody.
And I'm going to look for a raise. I get double my salary here at PEG TV. How about that?
I don't control. That's a different board.
0 to 0.
Okay.
2 zeros.
You know what? I'll give you a penny. We'll do some funny math on
Mike, thank you very much for coming down. Congratulations again on your victory.
Thank you.
Enjoy your celebration tonight, and with all your volunteers and your family, and we'll be seeing you around soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll talk soon.
All right, very good.
Thanks
again.
everybody.
Yeah.
And you got some new sheets over there, too.
Yeah, I think we're... Okay, so we'll just give one quick last wrap up. We want to thank Mike Dunges for coming down as mayor-elect currently, and for one more week, president of the Rutland City Board of Aldermen. It was very kind of him to come down and spend some time with us, break away from, I'm sure, all of his campaign volunteers and family that are celebrating right now, and want to have him back to celebrate with them. But certainly some good information from Mike regarding his attitude starting his first term, and some of his plans were announced tonight a little bit, making a little news here at PEG TV. But just a couple of reports that all articles and budgets passed in the town of Tinmouth. All officers were unopposed, and they had an elected newcomer, Judy Gilmore, to a 3-year select board term. So congratulations to Judy Gilmore in the town of Tinmouth. 131 voters cast ballots, which is about 30% of the voter checklist. So that's fantastic, because a little bit more than Rutland and Tinmouth. That's great, and percentage-wise. And then in the town of Rutland, all articles passed. This is great news from the town of Rutland. We appreciate them passing this along. School director Abby Bennett was also Christy Lozon. And it looks unofficially like Abby Bennett has won the race for school board, opposed to Christy Lozon. And so this again is unofficial, but they believe that Abby Bennett has won that race for school director. So there's some cutting edge news from the town of Rutland. Otherwise, all articles passed in the town of Rutland, and we thank them for that information. With that, I think I am going to go ahead and wrap up, because we're now at 9:15, and we've reported many towns in tonight. We thank everybody who reported those for us. Again, want to thank PEG TV and this great team here for bringing this production to you tonight, and all your favorite ways to receive your news, whether it's on television or your favorite handheld device. But again, want to thank and congratulate Mike Dunges. I also want to thank David Allaire, who has been, as you know, a longtime public servant, even served in the legislature, and has served as 3 terms as our mayor. And we don't want to go out without taking the time to thank David Allaire as mayor of the city of Rutland. Being mayor is not an easy job, and it's an honor to run, it's an honor to win. But it is a very difficult position to hold, and certainly David Allaire has been a longtime public servant here in Rutland City, both in City Hall and in Montpelier, and certainly gave it put his heart and soul into it the last 3 terms as our mayor. And we certainly, even though defeated tonight, don't want that to diminish the fact that David has worked hard and sacrificed of his time and been willing to take the darts that come with being mayor. Not an easy job, so we want to take this opportunity also to thank David Allaire for his longtime service to the community of Rutland that he loves dearly and has certainly served us well. So thank you, David. And again, thanks to all those folks that have put their name on the ballot, and congratulations to the ones that were successful tonight in your endeavors going forward. We'll have a new mayor in the city of Rutland. We'll have a new president of the Rutland City Board of Aldermen, and we'll have a new president of the school commissioners. We also have a municipal budget and a school budget passed as well. And then generally throughout the counties, in the towns individually, virtually every article passed. So if you're wondering if your article passed or not, it did. So with that, again, I'm going to say thank you to this great team at PEG TV, and I want to thank all of you for watching PEG TV and watching this coverage. You know, we try really hard to bring you the news locally and as it's happening here in the city, because you went and voted and then you want to find out how that turned out. And so thank you for voting, and thank you for watching live election night coverage and PEG TV. With that, I'll say goodnight. My name is Tom Donahue, and hosting this program, and so honored to be with you. And again, have a wonderful evening, and thank you very much.